Whether the team is giving us the highest of highs or the blues of blues, we'll cover it all here on Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So, the Washington Commanders find themselves at a very ominous position in the 2025 season. I'm going to give you a disclaimer right now. I'm all over the place. My mind has been racing since yesterday, and throughout the course of this week, I'm going to be riding that roller coaster that DQ has told us we shouldn't ride. Impossible not to as a fan. Simply impossible. We ride every single roller coaster that this team takes us on. We feel every bump. We go on every twist, every turn, every dip. And last night was one of those emotional roller coasters that I hate getting on because you don't know how to be, right? The knee-jerk reaction is to say the season is over. It felt over last night. It feels over today. That hasn't changed for me. But as I always tell you, with time comes perspective. Gives you a little bit more time to take a step back from your emotions and see things for what they could be. You know, I'm an optimist. So I take a step back, and tomorrow, so today's doom and gloom. Today's season's done. What's next? How do we fix this? Tomorrow is going to be all about why this season isn't over and how we can still find a way to salvage this thing. That's tomorrow's show. If you're that person, today's show might not be for you. Come back tomorrow. I got something for you. And if you don't want to hear that shit tomorrow, today's show is for you. You should want to hear both, though. So I'm all over the place, as you can see. So we heard from DQ today. And I let me just say this. We're going to get to what DQ said a little bit later on. And I'm going to tell you that it was exactly what I, as a fan, needed to hear. Now, I don't know if any of that shit is going to come to fruition, right? But it sounded good, and it sounded like a guy who's a leader of men, who's not going to just sit back and watch this ship sink. He's not going to just sit back like he's the captain of the Titanic and watch this shit sink. He's not going to be sitting there playing the goddamn violin or the cello as this bitch is going down after it's hit the iceberg. He's going to do something. Now, again, I don't know if any of this shit is going to work, but he said all of the right things today. We'll get into that. But as we've seen this season, it doesn't matter what's said. It only matters what's done. And what has been done to us this year has been a damn felony crime, right? Felony assault to this roster by the injury reaper. More of that took place today. Per Adam Schefter, who got it from DQ, which we'll talk about what DQ actually said here in a bit. Adam Schefter first tweeted out, Commanders quarterback Jayden Daniels had an MRI on his hamstring and is not considered a long-term injury per head coach Dan Quinn. But his status for Monday night versus Kansas City won't be revealed until later this week. Newsflash, he's not playing this week. Just in case you didn't know, he's not playing this week. Schefter then goes on to say, because DQ went on to say, that Dorrance Armstrong suffered a season-ending knee injury. Go figure. He should have never been out there. That move from DQ and the staff reeked of desperation. For all of the talk of, we're not going to miss a step, we're going to do this, we're going to go do that, we're going to do what's in the best interest of the player, Dorrance should have never been out there. And I don't know, he could have missed this week's game, played next week, and the exact injury that he sustained could have happened anyway. It's football. Shit happens. Here's what we do know. Dorrance wasn't in any condition to play in this game on Sunday. He shouldn't have been out there. He shouldn't have been out there. And it's with that information that we just got from Dorrance. And again, we don't know if Dorrance hurt the same leg that had the hamstring strain or not? We don't know that for a fact. My guess is yes, because your body talks to you. And I always tell people this, being a vegan, I said, your body talks to you. And so often as human beings, we don't listen. Oh, I just have a headache, so I'm going to I don't get headaches. You know why I don't get headaches? Because I listen to my body. When you get a headache, that's not a normal occurrence. You're not supposed to get headaches. You don't just randomly wake up one day, oh shit, my head hurts. Let me pop a couple of Tylenol and keep it pushing. No, your body's telling you something's off. Something's wrong. You're just trying to attack the symptoms, but you're not actually getting to the root cause of why you have a headache. When your hamstring hurts, something else is wrong. Something else went awry. Something else had to work harder, and it forced your hamstring to strain itself. They put Dorrance out there, and now he's done for the season. We can't have nice things. This is why they're not going to put Jayden on the field. And they shouldn't. Against Kansas City, against Seattle, probably against Detroit either. It's the same thing the Ravens are going through with Lamar Jackson, because you're just not going to risk it with that guy. You'll risk it with Dorrance Armstrong. You're not going to risk it with Jayden Daniels. It is so disheartening to see what has happened to the season, what injuries have made of this season. It's made a muck of this season. It's taken a perfectly good, reasonable season full of expectations and made a mockery of it. I don't want anybody to sit here and tell me, and I'm not listening to anybody that's going to tell me that these injuries haven't made an impact on this team. You want to know what the Cowboys did on Sunday? They did something they haven't done all season long. They played man coverage. A bunch of it. Do you know? Interesting fun fact. The Dallas Cowboys played the least amount of man coverage going into Sunday's contest. Conversely, did you know that the Dallas Cowboys played the most zone coverage in the NFL coming into Sunday's game? Fun fact. Why? Because they stink in the secondary. When you stink as a secondary, you're not able to play man coverage. So you play zone. It helps you hide deficiencies. Now you got to play it well, or else you'll end up like Dallas. But you can't play man because you know your guys can't cover in man-to-man coverage. So why even put them in those situations to get cooked? So they haven't. Fun fact. The week before, Chicago hadn't blitzed 5 guys more than 4 times in any game this season. Why? Because their best corner, Jalen Johnson, has practically been out the entire season. They can't play man coverage. So instead of putting their guys at risk by taking a defender out of the secondary and blitzing an extra defender, they just rushed 4, played coverage, and tried to protect their cornerback position. You know how many times they rushed 5 guys? 13, a season high for them on Monday night against us. Why, you ask? Because they knew nobody was beating man coverage. We still beat it, but they felt confident no one was beating man coverage. So we had to run double moves, and we had to find ways. We had to trick them with a Luke McCaffrey fake screen up the field, open touchdown. We had to trick them with a double move because guys aren't separating otherwise. So you know why Dallas decided to play man coverage all of a sudden? They hadn't done it all year long, but all of a sudden now they want to play man coverage. You want to know why? They still didn't have their quote-unquote best corner in Diggs. You know why they decided to play man coverage? Because why not? Am I supposed to be afraid of Chris Moore? Am I supposed to be afraid of Robbie Chosen, Luke McCaffrey, Jalen Lane? Not. Zach Ertz isn't separating from me. If I don't fall for the okie doke, if I stay on top of his stems, He's not running away from anybody. We can play tough, sticky man-to-man coverage because they don't have their number 1, number 2, or their number 3 wide receiver. Don't tell me that shit doesn't make a difference. You want to know why Jayden was off? It wasn't just because he was off. He was a little off. I'm not going to sit here and act like he wasn't, because he was. He was a little off. It had a lot to do with time on task. He ain't throwing a lot of footballs to Robbie Chosen. He ain't throwing a lot of footballs to Jalen Lane. He ain't throwing a lot of footballs to Chris Moore. Probably throwing more to Chris Moore than any of these other guys. But when they run a stop route and Jayden's throwing it to the outside, it's timing. That's what the shit is all about, timing. And the time on task, Cliff has told us, we ain't had enough of it. We ain't had enough of it. It's not a coincidence that when he throws the ball to Debo, it doesn't look like that. But again, it is what it is. And then the last thing is, you see who the guys are. No disrespect to them, but this is the hand we were dealt. This is why I didn't think Jayden was going to be able to go in there and do what was necessary, because he was going in there with a ragtag bunch. And then to make matters worse, we were dropping passes. Jayden was off a little bit. We didn't play the type of football that we know we were capable of playing. And you know what else this has hurt? These injuries, the way teams have approached us, it's hurt the run game the most. Because if I don't think you can run by my guys, I don't think you can separate from my corners, guess what I can now do? I can aggressively attack the line of scrimmage in the run game. If you got Terry McLaurin, I got to keep that safety back. You got Debo Samuel, I got to keep eyes on him at all times. I can't be too over preoccupied with what you're doing in the run game, which is going to open shit up. Now teams are just blitzing the run game. They see Bill back there. We're coming after the run. Because you're not going to hurt us with your guys out there at the receiver position. Who the hell's hurting us out wide? Robbie Chosen? Chris Moore? You're right. I can attack the run game aggressively. You've seen it each of the last 2 weeks. You want to know why the media keeps asking, do you think teams are defending you differently? It's because they are. They are. It sucks. Because there's no way in hell this team at 3-4 is going to do the things that we need them to do to keep this season alive. That's what it feels like today. Again, if you're looking for optimism, come back tomorrow. Today's show isn't it. We know Marcus can play better than what he put forth on the field yesterday. We know he can play better. Marcus looks a lot better when he's given a full week of preparation, which any quarterback would. But it's Marcus Mariota and this defense that we saw yesterday and the week before that, 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 is this defense that seems to be getting progressively worse because they're getting more and more injured. Is this defense that we saw yesterday give up a touchdown in 3 plays after getting a sack on the first play of the possession. Give up a touchdown 3 plays later. A bomb down the sideline, a give-up run that they were willing to just concede and take a field goal off of down to the 1-yard line, and then a touchdown pass to Jake Ferguson. That defense. You think they're going to be able to stop Patrick Mahomes and all of the weapons that they possess on a Monday night in Arrowhead? That is a kamikaze mission if I've ever seen one. Don't tell anybody I told you this. The Seattle Seahawks are the best road team in the NFL this season. Shh, don't tell nobody. We were better off playing them. This was going to be tough if Jayden was healthy. It's going to be tough beating them at home because they're so good on the road. Since Mike McDonald has taken over that team, they don't lose on the road. They haven't lost on the road this season. They probably were going to come in here and make shit tough anyway. Well, now it's Marcus Mariota. And that defense, Jackson Smith and Jigba, has 120 yards receiving every week. I don't think he's going to have that tonight because he's playing the best secondary in football. But when he sees the worst secondary in football, 2 weeks later, he's going to be right back to his normal tricks. He might have 200 yards receiving, a la DJ Moore in 2023. That might be the type of time Jackson Smith and Jigba's on in 2 weeks. Marcus Mariota can't stop that. He can't save us. He can play his best game. It probably won't be enough. Unless changes are made. We're going to talk about that as we get to in other New York. Before I go, I'm a little too hasty. We have some keys to victory that we did not achieve in the 44-22 ass whooping yesterday. Don't want to skip over the keys. I did them, so we're going to talk about them. Offensive keys. First thing I said was, I got 5 on it. Nope, I need 5 on it. It didn't happen. He wasn't at his best. The guys around him weren't, they didn't do their job. Like, we went into that game knowing we had to be damn near perfect. And then we got guys dropping footballs and shit like that. Not going to happen. I think next key was 2024 offensive performance. We needed one of those. Control the football, high efficiency on third down. If you got to go for it on fourth down, get it done. We actually weren't too bad. One of the better performances on third downs this season. Again, it's the worst defense we've seen all season. We should have been even better. 7 of 16 on third downs, but 0 of 2 on fourth down, including Luke McCaffrey running wide as butt naked open and Marcus Mariota missing. Start fast, stay out of third and long, and a big game out of 3 of these guys. Pick any 3 you like. Ertz, Bill, Debo, Luke, Lane, or Moore. We didn't get a big game out of anybody, first and foremost. None of these guys had a big game. And Debo didn't even play. And so I gave him half credit. I thought we started fast. I know we gave up a 5-play, 66-yard touchdown on a bogus-ass pass interference penalty, whatever. But we came back. We got a stop for a safety and then scored a touchdown right there after. And if Zach Ertz holds his block, we get the 2-point conversion and we're up 10-7. And it's like we had the momentum. I mean, it would have been better if we would have went down and matched their score with a score, but ultimately, we got off to a fast enough start. And I thought we stayed out of third and long for the most part in this game. We had our fair share of third and longs, but this Cowboys defense stinks, man. So even if you were in third and long, you still could pick it up. There was never a down and distance that I didn't feel comfortable in yesterday because their defense is so god-awful. They probably felt the same way about us, though. Half credit for that one. The last offensive key, no turnovers, score 30-plus to win, and win time of possession. Well, obviously, we turned the ball over twice. Didn't get any back, which we never look for those anymore. Like, again, it's like Christmas when we get a turnover. Score 30. We were well on our way to doing that with Jayden in the game. But obviously, he got injured, so shit happens. And then win time of possession. I think if Jayden stays in the game, we win time of possession. We were winning time of possession in the first half of this game. But and a lot of that had to do with just the fact that the Cowboys, when they did score, it was feast or famine. When they did score, it was quick. It wasn't methodical. It was an explosive play for a touchdown, a pass interference that puts you down there to score. And then when they didn't do that, we were getting off the field. It was one or the other. The defense actually gave us a chance up until the final drive in the first half. The offense is what let us down in the first half of this game. I know that sounds crazy after they gave up the touchdown, but before that touchdown they gave up, we knew the Cowboys were going to score. It was the offense that let us down in the first half, not the defense. Then when they gave up that touchdown before half, then you said, man, F this defense. It shifted. Defensive keys. Find a way to get a minimum of 3 stops. They did that. They did that in the first half. They got 3 stops in the first half. It's a shame we couldn't do more. No explosive TDs. Limit red zone efficiency and win the red zone. So notice I didn't say no explosive plays. I said just don't give up a touchdown. Maybe we can fight in the red zone. Cowboys were 3 of 4 in the red zone. We were 3 of 3 in the red zone. When we got down there, we scored because they suck on defense. So do we. But we're better in the red zone than they are. And I just wanted a chance. When you give up a CeeDee Lamb touchdown, you don't give yourself a chance. You don't give yourself a chance. Stop Javonte Williams in the Cowboys rushing attack. Does 16 rushes for 119 yards sound like we stopped him? Almost. Dag nabbit. We'll get him next time. This run defense has went to hell in a handbasket. The one thing we used to be able to count on, we can no longer count on as a defense right now, and it sucks. Last defensive key, definitely win specials. No Turpin magic. I actually think we won special teams, even though Luke McCaffrey lost his damn mind for a second and thought he was a superhero with a cape that could actually fly. The hell is wrong with him? But ultimately, I did think we won special teams. So you get 2 defensive checks, a half on offense, 2.5 out of 8 possible points. You're not going to win very many games, if any, with that kind of performance. And let me just say this. I was talking to my wife last night, and I talked to her again this morning. Because after situations like this, I just need somebody to talk to. I'll be in my feelings. I'll be emotional like Carl Thomas. And I like, my wife is my sounding board, right? I was good this morning. I was like, all right, I'm good. And my wife brought the shit up, and then it just all started rushing back to me like, fuck. I was like, you know what? The part about this that sucks. Now, I had this conversation briefly with the Kings because nobody really wanted to talk. And you're just like in this state of total shock and just disbelief. We thought we were past this. This whole season over before Halloween bullshit, right? Not even out of the month of October and your shit feels gloom and doom. We thought we were past all of this. This isn't supposed to be us any longer. We don't do this anymore. That's what last year was supposed to represent. A changing of the guard to where you're a relevant team from here on out. Even if you've got some injuries, you figured this shit out because you matter now. And here we are, 7 weeks in, going into week 8, 3 and 4. Halloween still not for another week. And our shit is done. And I told my wife, I said, this shit doesn't feel like 23. There was no hope by the time we got to the end of that season. That season had purpose. If we don't win this year, like if we don't make this season has no purpose. There's no light. 2023, at least we knew we were losing for a purpose. Get Ron's ass out of here. Del Rio, anything to do with the stench of those guys, anything to do with the stench of Snyder, get that shit out of here and get us a goddamn franchise quarterback. There was purpose in getting your brains bashed in by the Miami Dolphins and the Dallas Cowboys. Every week you get your ass whooped and your back kicked in, but you did it with a purpose. Hey, don't you try and beat the damn Los Angeles Rams, Jacoby Brissett. How dare you? The hell are you trying to do? You trying to ruin us? Trying to beat the Jets? There was a purpose. It sucked because losing sucks. And I'm not wired that way, but it was a greater purpose at hand. We haven't been in this position, though. This position, season done before Halloween, since 2019. Think about it. Every year there was a Rivera run where it put you right smack dab in the middle of some playoff shit. You probably weren't going to make it, but you didn't know you weren't going to make it because the division sucked or we were right in the mix, like in 2022. Right in the mix. With 5 straight division games to finish up the season, right in the mix. Or 2021, when you made the run. I think that was a season where you had 5 straight division games to finish up, and we stunk it up, won 1 out of the 4. Or 2022, when you had the 7-5 record going into the 2 Giants games before you tied and then you lost. We haven't been here since 2019. 2020, we won the division. Air quotes, losing record, still made the playoffs. 2021, you start slow, Heineke comes in, you catch fire, all of a sudden, you're 6-6 with 5 games left, all against divisional opponents, and we wet the bed. COVID hurt us, but we were going to lose anyway. 2022, you're 7-5, Heineke's done it again. We won 6 out of 7, and you got 2 games against the Giants to figure out if you're going in the playoffs or not. And we lose 1, tie 1. 2023, we started off 2-0. It's easy to forget that. Then we sucked the rest of the way. But at least we realized, and even that season wasn't done until week 10. I think it was Seattle was the game that kind of straw that broke the camel's back. That was like week 11. Week 10, week 11, something like that. We were getting close to Thanksgiving because that's when the wheels really fell off, right around Thanksgiving. We ain't been here since 2019. Season done before Halloween. This is supposed to be the Giants that we were talking about, which their season is done, by the way, right? Their season is done after they blew a 19-point lead, and then what were they up? 28-6 or some shit in the fourth quarter. Whatever the score was, they're cooked. But this wasn't supposed to be us. But injuries will do that to you. And this is out of our control. It just sucks because we thought we were past all of this. This is a feeling that's all too familiar, and I don't like it. It's too much PTSD rushing back at once for so many of you. And I feel bad for some of y'all because I don't have as much PTSD as some of y'all do. The people that are putting out pictures of Robert and Jayden, which is prompting Miss Jackson. Hey, Miss Jackson, don't even trip on that shit. Don't trip on that shit, Mom. Don't trip on that shit, Mom. That doesn't reflect how we feel. Don't trip on that shit, Mom. But I get it. That's your son. And I'm a big believer in what you put out there is powerful. Speaking things into existence. Y'all know that. I'm a big juju guy. So I get why she's like, hey, don't put that shit on my son. Which she don't understand. And I'm not trying to validate the way that person felt, or I'm not even trying to rationalize that shit because that shit's dumb. But what she doesn't understand, and she can never understand, is the level of PTSD that exists within this fan base. This shit is strong, man. It's a powerful thing. We got scars, man. Deep-rooted scars. And even when you think that shit is behind you, you're always looking over your shoulder waiting for that other shoe to drop to bring that shit back to the surface. Because you thought you had gotten away. You thought you were safe. And just when you thought it was safe, it's back again. And this is the problem. We needed one more year of them proving to us, you're safe. You don't have to do this anymore. The bad man is gone, and you can put to rest all of those feelings of uneasiness, of here we go again. Oh no, we suck again. You can put all of that away. We a legit outfit now. No matter what. And there's certain circumstances that don't apply. You lose your quarterback. I didn't give a shit how good you are. You know, unless you're the San Francisco 49ers, of course. And you just keep on chugging along. Because let's face it, Brock Purdy isn't a superstar. So he's replaceable. They're proving that right now. Okay. You can't lose Burrow. You can't lose Mahomes. You can't lose Jackson. You can't lose Allen and your team stay afloat. You can't lose Daniels. You can lose a Purdy because he's replaceable. I don't know what's going to become of the rest of this season. And I told you, in this warped brain of mine, I've come up with a plan of how this season is not dead. Okay. But you'll get that tomorrow. The bottom line is the fact that we're even having this conversation about the season being done, expired before Halloween is the type of shit that makes fans who want to believe, who want to put that PTSD behind them, it makes them second guess everything that they told us last year. Everything that was supposed to put us at ease. You start to question everything, the brotherhood. Shit, I started questioning the brotherhood when they wouldn't pay Terry. We're going to find out how strong the brotherhood is. Like DQ said. We're going to get to what he said in a second. At the end of the day, we got to accept our fate. Same thing happened to CJ Stroud last year. The only difference is he didn't get hurt and his division was ass. But maybe, just maybe, this division is ass too. We'll see. We'll learn a lot about this division this week. Anyway, let's get to in other news. So we heard from DQ today. And DQ, I thought, had a really inspiring press conference. It's what you need to hear from your head coach in times of distress and adversity. This is what you need to hear from your head coach, right? I don't want a bunch of cliches. I just want you to tell me this shit isn't good enough and we're going to fix it. Even though you may not be able to fix this shit. At least that's what you're telling me, right? Don't point fingers. That's not going to solve anything. You might be able to do that behind closed doors. Don't do that shit in the media. That doesn't solve anything. But you have to find a way to steer this shit back in the right direction. And he started off his press conference by saying the only thing consistent about this team is its level of inconsistency. I literally said that 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago. My Bleacher Report quick hit was literally the Commanders are consistently inconsistent. That's their one trait right now. They're consistently inconsistent. So this isn't new. This is who they've been all season long. It's why we haven't won 2 games in a row. And for the first time this year, we've now lost 2 games in a row. He then said, quote, hard shit with good people. We're in hard shit. And we'll find a lot about, he said, we'll find out a lot about our team right now. Close quote. Let me repeat that. Hard shit with good people. He said, that's what we said when we came into this. We're in hard shit right now. We're going to find out a lot about our team. Close quote. He then goes on to say, quote, not going to be easy, but we're not staying in this space either. Again, these are things that you want to hear. He talked about his conversations. You know, he loves to bring up Navy SEALs. He brings them in every year before the season starts. They did the Navy SEALs training in the off season, and he loves to have those guys come talk to the team. That's something that really is a big part of who he is from a DNA fiber standpoint. And he said, when a Navy SEAL is in the water, three things: where you started, where you're going, and what tools do you need to get you there. And he said one of the things that they have to do is they have to stay on course. He's like, just 3 centimeters or inches off, and they're off course. He said, right now we're off course, and we got to steer our way back on course. And he said, we're going to dig into every and anything that we can do to try to get us on course, back on course. So then that was his starting opening remarks. Then he opened the floor for questions and immediately was asked about DA and Terry. Or not Terry, excuse me, Jayden. And he said DA out indefinitely. Then, he wanted to be vague there because he could have just said DA is out for the season. He said, I'll start with the bad news. DA is going to be out for a while, basically indefinitely. And Josina Anderson had already told us that DA was going to be out indefinitely. She didn't say for the season. She said indefinitely. He's seeking a second opinion. And then DQ and JP Finley said, I heard the same thing. So we already knew it was bad. But which of us didn't already expect the DA news to be pretty bad today? We all expected that because he shouldn't have been out there. Then the follow-up question is he out for the season? And he's like, yeah, he out for the season. So he's done. We can't have nice things. Guy was on pace to have the most sacks we've seen here since Dexter Manley. Right? One of them 17 sack seasons. We ain't seen that shit since the 80s, bro. He was on pace to do that. Nah, y'all don't know what to do with that, man. Let me get that from you right now. Come on, hand it over. Y'all don't know what to do with that. Then he says, Jayden, good news on him, had an MRI, revealed that the hamstring injury is mild at best, insignificant. He's day-to-day, more like week-to-week, if you ask me. They're not playing him this week. They're not playing him next week. I wouldn't be shocked if we don't see him until Denver after the bye, to be honest with you, because his lower extremities are such a huge part of his game. If he were a Tom Brady, they could just put a knee brace on him like they've already done, and he'd go out there and he'd throw the football. Jayden he's so reliant upon his legs. And that's not a bad thing. That you can't just put him out there and assume he's just going to stay in a pocket because he's got a hamstring strain. His first instinct when shit breaks down or he doesn't like what he sees is to take off and run. And if he can't do that, you can't put him out on the field. But hallelujah. Some good news finally from an injury standpoint. At least this season isn't done. And again, we'll talk about tomorrow. Maybe our season isn't done. He then went on to talk about coaches versus players. Who's to blame? What needs to be done? And he said, we're going to dig into all of that tonight and tomorrow. Remember, we got the extra day, he said. So I'll give you an update, he said, on Jayden on Thursday, not Wednesday, because we got the extra day on Monday. He said that gives us extra time to dig into us. Before we even start on Kansas City, We got to dig into us. Because if we don't fix us, doesn't matter what Kansas City does. We can't be effective. So we're digging into the coaches, we're digging into the players, and we're going to figure out what needs to be done. What changes can be made. Okay. Then he was asked a real question. This is a real question. What's your plan to replace DA? They don't have one. They don't have one. Now, he did say we're going to do a lot of the things that we did in the game, which probably was done out of necessity. I almost probably gave Joe Witt Jr. way too much credit for them putting Frankie down on the defensive line. They did that out of necessity, not because he was smart enough to say, this is how I get Jordan McGee on the field. That actually probably happened out of necessity. Because they knew they couldn't put Preston Smith out there as much as they did on Monday night. He's cooked. And to be honest with you, that rush of Frankie, Jacob Martin, Deron Payne, and Kinlaw, whoever you wanted to sub in for that last guy, that shit was effective as hell. And Von Miller, we were getting pressure. We were getting pressure yesterday. That's the sad part about how this defense played yesterday. And how the offense ultimately went to hell in the handbasket after Jayden's injury. There was a path to victory yesterday based off of the pressure that was being had. The problem is the back end was just so negligent that it really didn't matter. You could get a sack, as we saw right before the half, and still give up a 45-yard pass, and then a 22-yard run, and then a subsequent touchdown pass. It doesn't matter. So they don't, he said, but Adam Peters and company are going to dig in to see if there's something else they can explore outside of the building. We'll see. We'll see if there's something that they can truly go out there and do to really help bolster this rush. But right now, they're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. Changes to the secondary. Everyone in the media was trying to shout out to Candy, our girl Candy. Candy girl. She asked a fantastic question of Dan Quinn at the press conference last night, which was basically, hey, y'all plan on making some changes? You plan on maybe, taking over some play calling duties, responsibilities? Like, what's really good? She's like, I didn't want to ask that out loud, but somebody got to do it. Somebody got to do it. So she did it. Well, finally, I felt like her bravery last night opened up the floor, but it was still a lot of dancing around the one guy that everybody really truly wanted to ask about. Finally, somebody worked up the courage. We'll get to that in a little bit. But then you started getting questions. Changes to the secondary? Well, you ain't talking about Trey Amos. You ain't talking about Mikey Sainristil. You're not talking about Quan Martin. And you're not talking about Jeremy Reeves. Just ask who you talking about. We know who you're talking about. So he's like, yeah, we're going to dig into everything, see, what can be done. And so I was still hopeful that changes could be coming. Because last night, if you heard his response, DQ was pissed. And at that point, nothing was out of bounds, including potentially saying, hey, this shit don't get better. And I believe that's the case. If Joe Witt doesn't get better, he won't make it to next year. Like, he'll make it through this season. I don't see DQ getting rid of Joe Witt during the season, but he might not be back as the defensive play caller next year if this shit doesn't get better. But I thought there was a chance that we could see Marshawn Lattimore sat down for Jonathan Jones. You actually got a guy that you really trust to put out there if you were to sit down Marshawn Lattimore. So I was like, we might be on the precipice of this shit happening. Felt like it last night. The Cowboys went out of their way to target that man. Like, every team is going into the game saying, hey, we got to go after number 2. Because either you're going to get a big gain or you're going to get a penalty. But you're going to come away satisfied. Leave a young fella alone. He dangerous. You might be able to get him. And they got him once yesterday. But he stumbled. If he don't stumble, he's getting his hands on that football. He stumbled right as he was about to gather himself to jump up and try to make a play on that football. And it was from that point on, they said, hey, leave that young man alone. Leave him alone. Let's go over there with him. He's the liability. He's food. Let's eat. Bow our heads. Before we bless this food in our bellies, let's bless this food. And thank the football gods that this man is over here allowing us to eat in this manner. DQ said the sequence before half, we knew. During the game, he was pissed. After the game, he was pissed. And he was still pissed about it today. He was asked, was there something that you watched on film that was worse than what you initially felt going into watching? And he's like, nah, there's nothing that really stood out to me other than that sequence before the half. That shit was the worst. It reminded me of Thanksgiving so bad. This one was worse, though. This was worse than 2023 because at least that one we scored with like a minute and 10 seconds left. This one, there was less than 45 seconds left, 40 seconds left. Like, they were cool with kicking a field goal. And we was like, no, a field goal? Are you crazy? No, you don't need a field goal. Here's a touchdown. Come on. You guys are better than that. You know field goals on my watch. Here's a touchdown. Free of charge. He was then asked about Cosmi's performance. Last night, he told us that they started to sit players down because there was no reward in playing guys to the finish line. This shit was over. So they took guys like Cosmi out of the game. And he's like, he was pleased with Cosmi's performance. He actually, thought there was only one, mental lapse, and it was in pass protection. And he said, I expected more than that for his first game back. So he actually felt like Cosmi played extremely well. He's like, it's so good to have him back out there. I agree. The pass protection outside of the play that Jayden got hurt on, pass protection was fantastic. That touchdown pass to Zach Ertz, he was back there building a damn house for 2 years. David Aldridge asked him, and he's asked him this question before, who tells you the truth when tough times hit? And he said, Adam Peters, without question. We spend the most time together. He said, not a lot of people come down to the office when things are going this way, but me and AP are always getting after it. And he's the guy that, keeps them grounded and tells them the things that he either does or doesn't want to hear. He was then asked about what is a reaction from a coach when injuries deplete your roster the way that they have this season. And he was like, one, you're just like, man, this shit sucks. And on the other hand, and you hurt for the guys that get injured. And then on the other hand, you look at how can we figure out a way to pick up the slack on the reps that are now being vacated by the person that's hurt. And then you get excited for the guy that's supposed to get an opportunity. But again, we don't have a lot of young players here. So no one's getting excited about Von Miller getting an opportunity, right? That's where the young guys come into play. You get excited for Jordan McGee getting an opportunity. You want to see him more. So it'd be if Javonte John Baptiste were here, you'd be like, want to see what he does with the opportunity, but he's injured, so can't even get excited about one of the young guys getting the opportunity. The importance of the brotherhood. He said, this is the time where you have to lean on the brotherhood right now more than ever before. We're going to find out the strength of the brotherhood right now, he said. This is when, I always talk about sports being a microcosm of life. It ain't when shit's going well. You balling, you and your boys going out to the club. Everybody's your friend when you got a pocket full of money. Let the good times roll. It's when you down. It's when you out. It's when you in a hospital. That's when you find out who your real friends are. When shit's not going well for you and you looking to see where can I turn, you will find that there aren't many people there with their hand out looking to help you up, looking to give you whatever you need. Everybody got their hand out when you got money and when shit is up. But when you need to be helped up, or you now need them to extend some money to you, them hands ain't there no more. Same thing now. Everybody, all the fans, 10 toes down when shit was good last year. You know, I've had so many people tell me, hey, I'm out. I'll see you next year. I'm gonna just keep it a beam with you. That's some bitch ass behavior. Shit, the first sign of trouble, you on bounce. That was cool when Snyder was here, because you get to a point where you can't take the shit no more. I just had it. I can't do this shit no more. Till there's real changes, I'm out. I got it. But to bounce at 3-4, I get it. The season feels done. And it probably is. But to bounce at 3-4, I'm out. You weren't doing that shit last year. That's some real bitch ass behavior. But I can't tell anybody how to feel. I can tell you how I feel. We down right now. We're not out, but we're down. And we're down bad. We're down bad. But we still got a shot. We still got a chance to fight. And we're going to find out. And I'm going to talk about this a lot more tomorrow. We're going to find out just how strong of a brotherhood this really is. And we're going to find out how good of a head coach Dan Quinn is. But we're going to talk about that tomorrow. Challenge on taking on Mahomes and the Chiefs. He really ain't want to get into that because he like, I ain't really, looked at their game yet. It's really about us right now. But he did say, like, hey, bro, I'm not running from any challenge. Matter of fact, I'm running towards a challenge like that to see where we are, what we can do. I'm like, I'd rather run away from that challenge at this point where we are and what we have. I'd really like to run towards the New Orleans Saints or the New York Jets or some outfit like that. But that's not what the schedule suggests. So, and then he was finally flat out asked about Marshawn Lattimore. I forgot the name of the guy that asked him, but it's the dude with the raspy voice that always sounds like he just went to a concert and screamed for 4 hours straight and he'll never have no voice. That guy. He basically said, hey, you given any thought to maybe reducing Marshawn Lattimore's snaps or, taking him out of the lineup altogether? And I loved it. Like, and I was hoping DQ's response would be vague. Like, we're going to consider everything. If he would have said that, oh, they was benching his ass this week, which I'm not opposed to. I don't know if that's the answer. I don't know if that's going to remedy what this team ills right now. What's illing this team, I should say. But doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, they term that insanity. So you're getting to the point, you're getting very close to the point where you keep trotting number 2 out there and you're hoping it's going to be different, but it's not that much different. He basically said it's not on one person. He had some good reps yesterday. I'm like, DQ, but you can't harp on the good reps. There's too many. Like, yes, he plays a position where you're on an island and everyone sees you, but he also plays the one position that, if along with safety, but more specifically, you F up or you can't get right, you're giving up big chunks of yardage. No other position on the field finds you in that position as often as corner does. And every time we felt like we were doing something yesterday, he negated it with his play. Pass interference, big play given up. And the bad part with Marshawn is, and look, he is too old to try to teach a tiger, a dog new tricks. You can't. This tiger has his stripes already. You ain't changing these shits. Don't talk to me about Marshawn knows he got to turn and locate the ball. He ain't looking for shit, bro. He ain't looking for. He be in great position. He just don't never ever think that, you know what? I should look and see where the goddamn ball at. Because he don't trust his technique no more. Once upon a time, he used to do that. He's not looking for the football. Even when he was at his best, he wasn't necessarily checking for the ball all the time. That was one of the knocks on him. But he definitely ain't looking for the bitch now. And I could tell he's starting to lose confidence. He looked like a defeated man on the bench yesterday. A man that was getting cooked, and he knew it, and there wasn't a damn thing he could do about it. The only thing he could do was pick a fight with George Pickens. Try to get him to crash out. Because you shouldn't be saying shit to this man. This man is shitting all over you. This man is doing whatever he wants to do. This man is violating you in ways that is not allowed in at least 35 of the 50 states. He's violating you. You shouldn't be saying shit to this man. Whether you get a pass breakup or what, you shouldn't be saying a damn thing. Get up and walk your ass back to the damn huddle. DQ basically said, can't blame it on one person. We all got to be better. Marshawn had some good reps yesterday. Marshawn knows he's got to turn and locate the ball. I'm like, DQ, he's not going to do it. We're not putting this on one person. So that tells me they're not going away from Marshawn Lattimore yet. Unfortunately. I would, at this point, I'm not sure that going away from Marshawn is the best answer. But I can tell you what ain't the answer, sticking with him. At least let me find out that Jonathan Jones is really Michael Davis, and then I'll go, hey, let's just go back to Marshawn Lattimore. Let me just first find out that Jonathan Jones is Emmanuel Forbes or he's Michael Davis, and you got no shot with him, and then I can go back. Which is probably the case. Because if they felt like they had a better option or one that was at least comparable, they probably would have done it already. Remember how quickly they took Michael Davis out of the game against the Giants in week 2 last year when he couldn't tackle Malik Neighbors? Remember how fast that happened? Because he was ass. And it wasn't that much of a difference between him, Benjamin St. Juste, and Emmanuel Forbes. Let's just get one of their asses out there. If it's close, get his ass out. What they're effectively telling us by their actions is that it's not close. He's still the best option. I think that's going to be the case. But I think we're at the point now where we deserve to actually see if that's the case or not. But it'll be another week before we find out. And if this holds true, Marshawn will be fine on Monday night against the Chiefs. It's every other week that he's problematic for us, right? So it was week 2. It wasn't week 1 against the Giants. It was week 2. Then it was week 4. Then it was, so it's been every other week until last week because he wasn't really terrible last week. Then he was asked this week. So maybe he's due for 2 in a row. Shit-stained performances, being that he skipped over one. If there was ever a week where he would get embarrassed, it'd be Monday night against the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. So, oh boy, here we go. Anyway, I digress. We're going to get to the comment section. Before we do that, let's quickly get a word from our sponsor, Sleeper, and come back on the other side and get to your comments. Sleeper is the best way to experience and connect over sports together. It's a one-stop shop for all of your sports needs. You can celebrate and chat in the games in real time with other users, get the fastest scores, blazing fast news and alerts right at your fingertips. Play in fantasy leagues and win real money on picks contests. So enjoy sports the way they were meant to, together. Download the #1 sports app today. Predict the hottest football stats like passing yards, receiving yards, touchdowns, interceptions, and much more to cash in on your daily fantasy football skills. Use promo code LTN and Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. Sleeper. All right, so let's get to the comment section and then we'll get out of here real quick. Anthony Mayhew, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Anthony writes, hey, Lou, hope you're doing well. I've been better. Hopefully you're doing well or better. We've all seen better times. Question, how good were the 2024 Washington Commanders? Need a stroll down memory lane. So we knew that roster wasn't great last year. But here's what we did know. We were healthy. And that's all we ever asked for was a chance. All we asked for was a chance. Was the level of competition great last year? No, it wasn't. And we took advantage of that. But also, when we needed Jayden and his best was required, we got it. But we were healthy last year. He never had to go into a game without his #1 wide receiver. He had to go into games without Noah Brown, but we had enough depth between between Diami, Jamison Crowder, and all those veterans. OZ was our de facto #2 for most of last year any damn way. So you were fine. I contend that if they had held on to OZ this year, and I get it, they felt like they had upgraded over OZ with Jalen Lane, right? Because OZ was really here because he was a punt returner and he could work the slot a little bit. And they think that's what Jalen Lane's going to be. But if OZ was here, I think Jayden would have been better off this season. They could have held on to him. He could have made a difference. But they felt like they had upgraded the position. I'd much rather have OZ be here than Chris Moore. But that's just me, right? They might feel like OZ does exactly the same thing as Jalen Lane and that Chris Moore can do more because he can play outside. That's fair. But I just feel like OZ was someone that Jayden trusts, and he made plays for us last year. And he was always healthy. You know, that helps too. But yeah, last year's team wasn't great from a talent perspective, but what it was healthy and confident. Healthy and confident. And with every loss and every injured player that goes down, this team loses a piece of its identity. It loses who they are, and it loses confidence. Key himself, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Key himself writes, if we go into the bye at 6-6, we still in it. Let's effing go, Washington. So, one, we can't go into the bye at 6-6. There are only 11 games prior to the bye. So either you're over 500 or you're under 500, unless there's a tie somewhere in there, and you're 5-5-1. So you can't be 6-6 at the bye. But again, we'll talk about how we can make a season of this tomorrow. That's a conversation full of optimism that I'm not willing to have today. That's a tomorrow conversation. But I like your enthusiasm, Key himself. Loser, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, can't believe we back at the season ending in October. Me either, loser. Season ending before Halloween is some nasty work. I literally feel like that meme with your boy. Who would have thought it would have been us? Not me. Not me. Who thought we'd be here? Not me. I just, that was the most bitter pill for me to swallow last night. I couldn't go to sleep for a while last night, just off the strength of, I can't believe we're here. how did we get here? And I just, yeah, shit is just, it's crazy. Reedy Davis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, how much is AP to blame for being cheap? I mean, AP is definitely cheap. And I think sometimes it gets the best of him and it hurts us. But I don't think he was cheap to the point where this roster would have been drastically different if he was willing to open up the checkbook. You know, honestly, this roster is what it is because of where we are from a roster construction standpoint. You were going to have to, if you wanted to win, this is the cost of trying to win while building the roster at the same time. You're going to have to give, like, young players aren't going to help you win right now. Like, having a bunch of them. We saw that with Rivera. You can't get a bunch of young players and expect to win. You need veterans. That's what they try to do. Supplement the roster with veterans while drafting young guys that could learn from said veterans and hopefully be able to take that mantle. Our problem is our young guys have gotten injured so often, or they're stuck behind veterans that are performing well, that they're not playing enough. I.e., Jordan McGee. He got hurt last year. He was supposed to be an understudy last year to Bobby Wagner so he could take over. He got hurt last year. He never got those opportunities. So that apprenticeship program got pushed back a year. Javonte John Baptiste, same thing. He got injured last year. He got injured again this year. Brandon Coleman, he got injured last year. He got injured this year. And so those valuable reps of just being healthy, we haven't had those. Then you got a bunch of guys that we brought in as veterans to help, but they old, and old dudes get hurt. Video channel, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Lou, time to start rating practice squads. Need to find young players by any means possible. That's exactly what we should be doing right now. I'm not interested in the Drake Jackson, who might ultimately turn out to be a good get for us. I'm not interested in the Treylon Burks, who might actually end up being a good get for us. I'm not interested in the former first or second round pick who dealt with injuries, who might have some upside. Go get the guy that's healthy on somebody's practice squad that can come in and help us on Monday night versus the Chiefs. The guy that's actually been practicing, the guy that's actually been in an NFL, building, doing shit. Get me that guy. Jalen Dorsett, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for the super chat, Jalen Dorsett. Jay Willard, 13. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, I truly believe that the Wise and Harris injuries are the key reasons, along with other injuries, but those affected this scheme the most. What says you? Absolutely, I agree with that. Wise was impactful beyond the stats. His impact was immeasurable. His physicality, his ability to set the edge, his ability to collapse the pocket on quarterbacks. He did so many things for this defense that you could see the value he was going to have. He was so smart, too. Those little bootlegs and that dumb shit, he wasn't going for it. Now it's like we're back to having Clee on the edge, and it's just like, that shit don't get you nowhere. That was the whole point of going out and getting him, was he's supposed to help us. And I really think Harris, was underrated in what he could do on that back end. And it's unfortunate because, while you got guys like, Revo out there, Revo is, to me, specifically supposed to be out there for a specific role. And you should be able to pinpoint what you ask Revo to do. And now we got to ask Revo to do a lot of shit that I don't think we should be asking Revo to have to do. So, yeah, it's unfortunate, but I agree. Those hurt. All the injuries hurt. Losing Wise, losing Harris, losing DA, losing Javonte John Baptiste, all them shits hurt. All of them shits hurt. But those two hurt the most. Now, DA's is going to hurt more than those, but yeah, those two hurt tremendously. Jalen Dorsett, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. All right, Jalen Dorsett. Appreciate your content, Lou. For real. Always real. Hashtag HTTR. I appreciate you, Jalen, man. These are tough times, bro. These are tough times. But the only way we going to get through these tough times, like we always have, is with us. we got to stick together. They want us to fall apart. They want us to fall apart. This is when we got to stick together. And who knows? Marcus Mariota could come into this bitch and get on some Taylor Heineke shit and rev up the engine. Who knows? Who knows? But it just sucks being where we are. I know that. C-Trill, thank you for being a member for 23 months. Who writes, that missed PI call on Chosen had my blood boiling. The officiating the game was sketchy at best. That's not, they had 10 penalties, we had 11. It's not like they weren't calling the flags on both teams, but to miss that PI after you called that bullshit on the first possession, and then to call Jacob Martin for roughing the passer on Dak because his helmet popped off because his shit ain't on good in the first place is bullshit. But we still had Mikey with holding anyway, so it didn't matter. So that's why you don't get too bent out of shape about it. So anyway, yeah, that shit was trash though. But anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Commanders Nightly News. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys next time. Until then, you guys stay up. Take care. We're going to be all right. Peace.